trying to do this. And if you can explain to people from a logical perspective, without wearing a toilet seat or making crazy noises, which a lot of people do, then actually you have people who are listening to you from a point of view of logic and reason, and then we have them won over. Because again, as long as logic and reason prevails, we can win this war. If people are basically talking to each other, see, there's two things. Okay, there's the principle and the technique. And the technique is that all these people, most of them are crazy, who are talking to each other in all these forums and chats, who don't make any sense to anybody outside the forum or the chat. All right, I don't know if it's childhood.
And that's what you're saying. I understand. The Prison Planet Forum was saying you're a Bilderberg group member. Ridiculous.
I'm not talking about. I'm just talking.
That's the crazies. But that was somebody linking to a story. 1 million posts a month. I can't. Yeah.
And so many forums in so many countries, albeit in English and French and in German, in Spanish, and they're all the same because the type of people who do these kinds of things is the same. But the idea is instead of wasting time talking to each other, learn about history, learn about culture.
I agree. That's what I do, yeah.
And try to explain to people why what today is called Bilderberg 800 years ago was called something else, and why they're doing what they're doing, because, again, to say, well, they're trying to take a freedom away, to most people is just simply not good enough.
Yeah, this is the true ruling council of the planet, and if you watch the European Parliament, as I've been doing, they admit it is a global Europe, is what they're calling it, and they're openly announcing world government, a bank of the world that we will pay our carbon taxes to. Daniel, talking to you yesterday on the phone, you were starting to say peak oil was a scam. I know you'd been trying to research it and questioning it a few years ago. Do you now believe that peak oil is a eugenicist, a false scarcity scam?
No, look, in the world there are two energy sources. One is called nuclear energy, and the other one is called oil. Unfortunately, people who control the world will never let nuclear energy, which is the cheapest, the best and the longest-lasting energy, source in the entire world that can actually increase our population base from 6.7 billion to about 10 billion, because, again, the energy flux density, nuclear energy flux density, has nothing to do in terms of calories with solar energy, wind, or even oil. It's much heavier, much denser, and obviously can do things which no other source of energy can do. Now, as the people who control the world can't possibly afford, as I explain in my book, to let third world countries have access to nuclear energy, because it will allow them to stand up on their own feet and no longer need the funding from the International Monetary Fund and the World Bank and company. So we have only basically one energy source available, and that's oil. And unfortunately, as we're running out of oil, that's what I'm saying. There's only, unfortunately, this global warming is a big scam. It's not global warming. Actually, it's global cooling right now, which works in periods of about 100,000 years. And we're actually smack in the middle of global cooling.
Absolutely.
Our outdoor company will tell you otherwise.
So this is a form of neo-serfdom, as the Royal Commission put out with the British in '49 stated, to shut down the third world, not let them get resources to develop, and deal with eugenics. Now, Daniel, we've got limited time, and we really appreciate you joining us. Again, the new book is out, the North American Union edition, available at Infowars.com, or just Google it. You can also go to DanielEstulin.com as well. Daniel, I want to talk about the big press conference coming up Friday. And you told me in confidence, which I was honored you did 2 years ago, that you'd done this movie deal, and now it's going to be made, and there's a press conference coming up that they're going to sync up Friday with the European premiere of Terminator film Salvation. Tell us about that. This is very, very exciting.
Well, the deal has been in works for the past 4 years. Obviously, working with Hollywood, even if it's an independent studio, and they are, it takes time. It's a very long and arduous process. We've been talking to them since 2005 when my book first was released in Spanish. It was done to my former agent in Sweden. And this Friday we have a press conference announcing during the European premiere of Terminator Salvation that their next big movie is going to be, a project is going to be based on a true story of the Bilderberg Group. It's not going to be a documentary. It's going to be a full motion picture.
Absolutely. That is so exciting. And is this going to be a thriller? I mean, can you give us any window? Is it along the line?
At this point, usually the way it works is they're probably going to commission 4 or 5 directors to write a mini script, and based on each individual vision that the directors will have, and based on which one they like most, is that the one they're going to probably go with. It's obviously going to be a money-making proposition. The budget for it is, I can't really say at this point in time, but it's a very, very big budget, dwarfing most budgets for most action-adventure films. But anyway, the idea is that these people are on the right track. Terminator Salvation is probably going to be the highest grossing film of this year, if not one, definitely number two. And the video game version is already doing very, very well. So obviously, these people are going to have enough money to finance the project themselves, which is what we're actually very concerned with initially, and now we're very, very pleased.
Absolutely. The toys alone, the toys alone are going to finance the next. You got the toys, you got the TV show spinoffs. You've got
PG-13, but they certainly made the Terminator Salvation PG-13, and they can do the same for this one. That means that Burger King and company are going to have Daniel Estulin action figures.
So actually, this is the main hero is going to be you.
Well, it's going to be me, or it's going to be based on someone like me. It's beyond the duplicity and the lies and the obfuscations and the deceit of the people behind the curtain. It's also a very human story of a person, me in this particular case, who against all odds tries to find the truth and also tries to learn about himself. So it's a very human story as well on many different levels. And I guess that's one of the things that really appeals to them. It's not just good guys, bad guys, but it has so many other elements which you can play with and make into a beautiful movie.
All right, Daniel, I want to get into where you've been the last few years. You've been very busy. I've always reported to folks that you've been writing another book. Some people are like, where have you been the last two Bilderbergs? You made the point that if it's a Bilderberg where you can't get good photos, we did get Bernanke and a few others in Chantilly, but if it's not good to get photos, what is the point? And also, you've been writing a new book. You told me the harrowing tales of what happened when you went to Africa to cover AFRICON and the takeover by the globalists there. Tell us about your new, and by the way, I'm going to skip this network break. This is a network break coming up. We're skipping it, everybody. That's the network and stations. Tell us about what you've been working on the last few years, Daniel.
Well, again, as I just said, there's been a lot of talk because I get emails from people who send me links, to chats and forums all over the world. People asking where I was. It's really, I didn't understand why everybody's so concerned about where I am or what it is that I'm doing. But the point is that I haven't gone to Bilderberg over the last couple of years. There have been comments from certain individuals saying that I made so much money for my book, I no longer am interested. No, the reason I haven't gone this year or last year is because, this year's Bilderberg conference was held in the same hotel that I covered way back my first Bilderberg conference in 1993. And I know the place. And last year's Chantilly, I know it very well, too, because I was there in 2002. There's absolutely no way to get anywhere near a hotel to take good photographs, and just to go there to be harassed by people. I don't need to do that because, again, I get information sitting in the living room of my house, as I've done this, this particular year as well, scooping the whole world on the Bilderberger pre-meeting agenda and, what these people have talked about. So that's the reason I haven't gone, not because I stopped doing it, because simply I make too much money and I'm too wealthy right now.